everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and I'm here to take a look at the Red Seeds Oracle by Linda Hill. Now, the artist and creator of this deck reached out to me from the UK and asked if I would be willing to take a look at their deck and do a walkthrough of it. And I took a peek. I'd not heard of it, to be honest, and so I took a peek to see what it was, and it looked absolutely beautiful. I haven't watched any full walkthroughs of this, although I saw that there were a couple out there, but I hadn't, I wanted to see the deck myself. But it was enough, I looked at enough to say, oh, that's really intriguing. And I'm always interested in goddess and or god decks. Maybe I'll have to say, please, can you do something similar for masculine energy, so then they can be combined and make a wonderful thing. But so these types of oracle decks always quite interest me, to see how and what energies are chosen and how those are portrayed, and this looked really intriguing. So that is why I am going to take a look at this with you today. So it came in this adorable little tote bag. I mean, who does not like adorable little tote bags? I am certainly not one to say no to an adorable tote bag. I love it. I've definitely never seen something like that with a deck, so that's lovely. We have a Red Seeds Oracle by Linda Hill, printmaker, and she has gonna steal my heart with the Joseph Campbell quote, "Myths are public dreams, and dreams are private myths." I love that. It says the Red Seed Oracle traces the myths of the feminine through the ages. The Oracle cards help us to connect and align our experiences with the lineage of these ancient women. Each of these 45 cards offers a seed of awareness to nurture, inspire, and empower. And John Lennon, we all shine on like the moon and the stars and the sun. We all shine on and on and on. With a thank you and a beautiful blessings card. So that was in the package there. The box is a tuck box. It has a really nice matte feel to it. Those kinds of tactile things are lovely. So it's definitely, let's see what we have here. Unfold your own myth. A Rumi quote. We already read that. Each of them we read that. Artwork and words by Linda Hill. Love and thanks to design layouts by Capella and Andrian. And with heartfelt gratitude for Coleman Barks for kindly allowing the use of his inspiring translations of the great Sufi poet Rumi, which I believe there's a quote on each of the cards. Remember, the entrance door to the sanctuary is inside of you by Rumi. Website. There's a website there, theredseeds.co.uk. So there we go. I will say, if you have an issue with artistic nudity, this may not be the deck for you, but the cards I saw were absolutely beautiful. Size-wise, they are nice size. They are narrower than many oracle cards, but then real tall as well. Like, that's a pretty good stretch for me. They have the art on the front with the, I think they're all I am, yeah. So an I am phrase, and then the backs are the guidebooks. But I think they're really beautifully done. You have pomegranate seeds. You have a quote from Rumi. I'll zoom in on these in a minute. But you have the quote by Rumi. You have the goddess energy here, and then you have the talking about the archetype of the daughter, because this is the daughter card. So you have this kind of talk about it, and then down at the bottom you have the challenge of this card as well as the gift of this card. I quite like that little sort of key challenge and key gift that this energy of this card brings to the table. So let me go ahead and zoom in here. Like I said, I've seen a couple of these, but I have not watched like a whole walkthrough because I hadn't heard of it, number one, and number two, once I knew she was sending it, I thought, well, I'll wait and be able to look at it together. So, as I said, here we have I Am Daughter, which is beautiful. I believe all of the goddesses here are nude kind of sketch watercolor mediums. It's got a very sketchy feel to it, to the line art, obviously, and then partial washes of color to varying degrees. And also, like, this is a very rough sketch, whereas you can see there are parts that can be more sketched in than others. So it's a real interesting combination of arts that I think is very striking from the ones that I have seen. So here we have, we're going to go ahead and read this one so you can see what we have. So this is, the quote from Rumi is, "My mother didn't give birth to me, that love did. 100 blessings and praises to that love." Persephone. The daughter archetype is abundant in myth and highlighted in the story of Persephone and her mother Demeter. This tale tells of a daughter leaving her mother to marry the king of the underworld. A daughter often has many things expected of her, which affects the shape of her feminine self. Whilst honoring the mother-daughter relationship, a woman will often find the need to break away from her mother at some point in order to define herself. As daughters grow, the need to separate may cause difficulties for both mother and daughter. Disconnection can feel like a deep loss, and there may ensue a period of grief. But slowly, our own unique feminine self emerges as we walk the road of independence and take ownership of our own identity. So the challenge is separation. This goes both with the myth of Persephone and Demeter, and it also goes with some of the challenges of the daughter relationship, and the gift is independence for this card. So, of course, then we have I Am Mother after I Am Daughter, and we have Demeter, I am assuming. Yes, the challenge is attachment and the gift is fulfillment. Talks again about the mother archetype. So each one has a bolded archetype for the daughter archetype, the mother archetype. The challenge of the mother is attachment and the gift is fulfillment. Here we have I Am Glory. This is the Grecian, one of the 3 graces. So I'm assuming all 3 will probably be here, but be in the deck. The challenge is wounding and the gift is wonder. So she is, and personified glory, that was what she personified. So I'll put this aside and see if we see all of them. The challenge is wounding, oh, I said that, and the gift is wonder. So that's Algae, one of the 3 graces. I'm assuming this is probably Arachne. I Am Connected, yeah, Arachne. Challenge is wrong paths, and the gift is authenticity. So here it talks about, again, it gives a indication of who the goddess was and from what culture. So we have, and of course, many of these goddesses went across a variety of different cultures with different names. But it gives you enough to get an idea. Arachne was a talented weaver goddess who challenged the goddess Athena to a weaving contest. So it goes on to describe that, talks a little bit about young. When this happens, we can truly connect with the flow of life and are thereby able to create a more authentic journey. And again, the Rumi quote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the stronger pull of what you really love." Here we have I Am Loss, which is really beautiful. Eridine. She was the one in the labyrinth with the Minotaur. Challenge is vulnerability, and the gift is new perspectives. Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form. Easy to say, not always as easy to do, right? I Am Surrender. Again, we have quite a pregnant, not again, but we have quite a pregnant woman here. So far, we have definitely seen, you know, different body shapes, and even in terms of the nudity, the breast shapes are all in different, particularly like, you know, some not equal sizing, and I just, you know, it looks like she's going for a great deal of shapes and sizes. So far, none of the skin has actually had skin tone to them, so ethnicity is a little less striking or noticeable, although obviously, you know, with a blonde-haired woman, we have some degree of feeling of that. I Am Surrender is Astarte, which is a Phoenician goddess of fertility and sex, love, and war. The challenge is struggle, and the gift is love and peace. I love this, as she was both the queen of the morning star, which made her the goddess of war, but the queen of the evening star, she was the goddess of passionate love. So that was kind of interesting how that goddess works. And again, if you've come across a goddess that is of great interest to you, I would say this would be an indication to go read up more. This isn't going to give you everything you need to know about that particular energy. I Am Water, we have as a Targetus. I haven't heard of all of these, although quite many of them I do love mythologies. This is a Syrian goddess. You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in the drop. The challenge is sinking, and the gift is to flow. She's obviously some kind of a mermaid creature or siren of sorts. We have I Am Inspiration. Looks like this is in sort of a cauldron. Caradwyn is the mother goddess from Welsh myth. She was a magical enchantress and keeper of the cauldron of inspiration, which overflows with Awen, the divine spirit, which holds the essence of transformation. The challenge is detachment, and the gift is transformation. What you seek is seeking you. Here we have I Am Productive, sort of with a bride's veil. Sybil was an Anatolian earth mother goddess associated with nature and agriculture. She wore a tower upon her crown, symbolizing her role as the protection of civilizations and cities. The challenge is dependency, but the gift is self-reliance. They're really beautiful images. She uses sort of points in some of the cards. Let's see if there's another where you can kind of see where bend points would be, almost like when you are drawing, although these are where certain things are connected with the webs. But see how she uses these use of dots in some of them? That's quite interesting to sit with. Here we have I Am the Rose. So the goddess Danu was the queen of fairy for the so Tuatha De Danann idea. Know that you are the rosary. I am the rose, I am love, I am mystery, I am beauty. The challenge is self-doubt. The gift is self-love. Beauty has a little bit of that Sleeping Beauty look with the roses as well. I Am Joy is beautiful. I love the use of blue here. It's quite gorgeous, especially in the blue hair. Euphrosyne was one of the three graces. She personifies happiness and joy. So we had one glory and wonder, and now the other second of the three graces is joy, and is associated with the bluebird. Put that aside. Here we have I Am the Universe. Eurynomé. Eurynomé was an ancient creation goddess. She was a wild dancer and named the goddess of all things. The challenge is oblivion. The gift is awe. We are all made of stardust. Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion, is the Rumi quote. It's beautiful. Looks like she's got almost like a boa constrictor perhaps around her. Has a little bit of a feel of the universe of the world card in tarot with this shape here and such. Here we have I Am Knowing. It looks like these are runes All of these things, connective points are runes. Yeah, here's Frigg. Frigg is a Norse goddess whose name literally means beloved. She is usually shown with a spindle, which is a powerful symbol representing female wisdom, magic, virtue, and industry. Frigg's reputation was of knowing all destiny, but mysteriously never unveiling such truths. The challenge is inattention, and the gift is knowledge. And I'm assuming this would be Hecate. I am the way. Yeah, Hecate phosphorus. I never have, I've not, that doesn't sound familiar to me. I've always just heard Hecate. I know you're tired, but come, this is the way. Hecate phosphorus is the triple goddess and the bringer of light, which emanates from the star of Venus. Her dark, magical, and wandering presence guards entrances, gateways, and the space between the light and the dark. Love it. We will find her at the crossroads of our lives. The challenge is indecision at that crossroads. The gift is the way forward. It's powerful. I am jealous. Hera. Poor Hera. Challenge is agitation, and the gift is healing. This is beautiful. This is the picture that's on the box. I am fire. This is Vesta. This is the goddess of the hearth and resides in her circular temple embodied with the sacred fire. The Romans believed that her fire guarded their city, their families, and their lives. The challenge is exhaustion, and the gift is energy. Don't get burnt out. Isn't it time to turn your heart into a temple of fire? That's beautiful. And this is I am the hearth, or hearth, how you want to say that, Hestia. So we have two kind of home hearth fires, but Hestia personifies the home and hearth. This was more in a temple, and whereas this was more focused on the home. I don't know what this means here. The challenge is Harath. The gift is to arrive home. Here. Being away from home can make us feel oddly disconnected and sad. The Welsh word Hiraeth, I'm sure I can't pronounce that right, describes this state of being perfectly. It is a longing. So it's the idea of longing for home, and the gift is that coming home feeling, which is wonderful. Here we have I am descending, which is Inanna, a Sumerian goddess who presided over heaven and earth. She had to pass through 7 gates to get to her sister's husband's funeral. This myth describes our journey into darkness. The challenge is humiliation, and the gift is wholeness. But that shadow has been serving you. What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. There's a quote there. I am beauty. Looks maybe to do with bees and flowers. Iris. Iris was a Greek goddess who personified the rainbow. She was also a valued messenger to the gods and could move between the worlds to do so. When we see a rainbow, we not only see its beauty with our eyes, but feel its beauty in our hearts. There is a little bit of a spelling error there, but that's going to happen because we are not perfect. The challenge is illusions, and the gift is self-worth. I see my beauty in you. I become a mirror that cannot close its eyes to your longing. These are really beautiful. They're also very thought-provoking. Like to some degree, those bugs on the back kind of give me the little like heebie-jeebies. And maybe they're just flowers and not bugs, but I feel like they're bugs. But I love the rainbow wash across it. I just feel like you could really sit with these images. I am sexual. Juno Capertina. Juno was the goddess of fertility and sexuality. She is associated with goats, who are well known for their sex drive, and also figs, a fruit which bears many seeds and is connected to sex and fertility. Enjoy your passion. So do they all have like a little, let me see. No, sometimes they have like a little extra bolded statement, which is kind of interesting, focuses you in. The challenge is not to be repressed, and the gift is pleasure. Here we have I am truth. Lema, is a Slavic goddess who dwelt in the lime trees disguised as the cuckoo bird. Lama would help unearth the truth. She could also help with decision making and prophecy. The challenge is denying the truth, and the gift is the truth. Beautiful. Well, this is gorgeous. I am drowning. Oh, how am I pronouncing this? Leucothea. Fold within fold, the beloved drowns in its own being. This world is drenched with that drowning. Leucothea is an ancient Greek sea goddess and is the white foam and the saltiness of the sea, of the oceans. She wears a white veil that can wrap around those who are drowning in order to save them. And to know we can change them. The challenge is the turbulence, but the gift is the revelation. It's really gorgeous. I feel like this would be a deck very similar to how I work with the Weaver's Oracle. I can't imagine pulling multiple cards from this deck, but rather just pulling one to sit with. I am Essence. Anima Mundi. There's the idea of the world soul. The challenge is disconnection. The gift is unity with nature. So it's connecting to the world. I am Birth. We have again pomegranates here. This one we do have two. Lucina was the Roman goddess of childbirth who aided and safeguarded the lives of all women in labor. Her name means she who brings children into the light. She holds a torch which represents her role. The challenge is labor pains, but the gift is birth. This one is very striking. I think I saw this one, I don't know if it was on a website or something, but this is very striking. She's got a mask. She has almost like these tattoos, but they have a very, almost like slashing feel to them. Very powerful energy. Medusa. The challenge is abuse, but the gift is courage. And this is interesting because she does talk about Medusa and the way that strong women in some of the mythologies, in some ways you'll see them, in some stories you'll see them as these strong, powerful, and sometimes very much victimized, either by rape or attack in some way, and then they kind of turn into these goddesses of, like Medusa, where you kind of think of them as evil goddesses versus just their power. I mean, I feel like even Hera suffers like from that a little bit. Here's the bees. I am Busy. Melissa. The Great Mother, or the Queen Bee. She found her origins in Minoa, Crete. In ancient Greece, the priestesses who served in the temples of Artemis, Aphrodite, Demeter, Sibyl, Diana, and Rhea were called the Melissa, meaning the bees. So these would be those in service, I suppose. The challenge is overactivity, and the gift is harmony. It's really beautiful. This one I don't like as much right away. I mean, I understand the symbol of the mask here, but it visually is kind of sticks out to me as being doesn't kind of fit with the rest of it, and it just feels like it's stuck there, which perhaps is the point, but it's not my favorite. I've loved all the rest of them. The Greek winged goddess became indignant when confronted with evil deeds and undeserved good fortune among the people. She ruled that no one person should ever have too much good, and she cursed those who were blessed with countless undeserved gifts. Nemesis was a goddess of justice and the distributor of fortune in proportion to what she felt was rightfully deserved. She's not really talking about Guy Fawkes, which is, I'm assuming, that mask, but maybe that not. Maybe it's just a... She symbolizes the emotional resentment and anger that arises when injustice occurs. However, justice cannot be served alongside revenge. The law requires a legal and ethical rationality that most people would see as a moral stance. When justice is interspersed with revenge, it becomes an emotional and negative experience. So the challenge is not to give in to resentment, but to have that clarity of fairness. So I like the card. Obviously, it's great to have that card. But image-wise, I don't really prefer. I feel like there would be maybe a different way to obviously, again, you can't really judge somebody else's art, because to her, that, you know, very much speaks what she wants it to say. So there's not a right and wrong in art. Let me be very clear about that. That just jumped out at me as soon as I turned it over, like, it doesn't feel like it fits. That makes sense. Absolutely stunning. I am resting. Pasithia, I've not heard that. Pasithia is the Greek goddess of rest, meditation, and relaxation. So the challenge is fatigue would be the shadow of that, but the gift is, if you can really rest, is restoration. It's beautiful. I am returning. She has like a wheel of the zodiac signs, and it looks like a birthday cake on her head. Nisaba. Our birthday is a celebration of the date on which we were born. Astrologers call this our solar return, which marks the return of the sun to the exact place it was when we were born. The challenge is time, and the gift is celebration. This is I am compassion with the lotus, so maybe Kuan Yin. Yes, Kuan Yin emerged from China, but is now much loved in many countries. Her name means one who sees and hears the cry from the world. Remember the entrance door to the sanctuary is inside of you. The challenge is harshness, and the gift is compassion. That's beautiful. There's other Kuan Yin decks that are very sexualized in some ways. There's a full Kuan Yin deck that never quite felt like the kind of energy that I think of as much with Kuan Yin. This, to me, while obviously there is nudity with Kuan Yin, here, it's not, I don't know where my phone is, I'm sorry. Somewhere beyond the blue, something, I don't know. Anyways, this to me is really beautiful and doesn't feel at all sexualized. Obviously, this whole deck is full of just nudity, so it doesn't have that sense of sexuality at all. It's quite beautiful. I am death. I am assuming with the facial paint and things that this is Santa Muerta. Santa Muerta, the goddess of death in Mexico. She's associated with healing, protection, and the safe delivery of souls to the afterlife. Her festival is the Day of the Dead. The challenge is death, of course, the ultimate challenge, and the gift is acceptance. Don't run away from grief, a soul. Look for the... Oh soul. Don't run away from grief, O soul. Look for the remedy inside the pain, because the rose came from the thorn and the ruby came from the stone. That's beautiful. I am transformed. That's a gorgeous image. I love the heron, I suppose, here. Rhiannon, as the Welsh queen of the underworld, she was a shapeshifter of many animals, but often transformed herself into a magical bird. The challenge is cynicism, but the gift is transformation. There's a bird here. I am wisdom. Sophia. Sophia is the goddess of wisdom. The unseen Sophia is an unbodied concept in many religions. As a goddess, she has similarities to the Egyptian goddess Isis. Sophia is the face of the divine feminine, the unseen, the unacknowledged, she who has been denigrated and ignored. She is the denied feminine within the construct of many religions. That's powerful. The challenge is invisibility, and the gift is awakening. Here we have I am healing, sort of underwater with like an octopus here. Sedna is the, I think this is in another of my goddess books, our deck. Sedna is an Inuit creation goddess. Yes. She was clearly pushed out of the boat. Yes, this is in my Susan Seddon-Boulay goddesses deck. She sank to the bottom of the sea and became the ocean goddess, which governs all the life within the sea upon which the Inuit depend for food. The challenges are the wounds that we're given, and the gift is healing. I am love by Venus, Roman goddess of love. And so it goes in and talks about how Greeks had 8 types of love: eros, philia, storge, ludus, mania, pragma, Philatia, I guess, and agape love. And so it kind of shows the different types of loves that are there. The challenge is trust and the gift is love. Wherever you are and whatever you do, be in love. I like that. This is very beautiful. Different color tone. Oh dear. Okay. I am Chaos. Tiamat is a goddess from Mesopotamia. She personified primordial chaos. The challenge is disorder, but the gift is creating balance. I quite like that. This one I'll have a little bit of a problem with. I don't want to go into political things because, you know, I don't tend to go deep into them. I'm not a big fan of the pussy hats. I am a fan of protests. I am a fan of creating change. I'm a fan of all of those things. I'm not a fan of the pussy hats from the recent marches. I think that there are more than just people who have vaginas that are part of the desire for equality, gender equality. I think that there are many men who are also for gender equality. There are also, of course, there is a spectrum of gender. Not all of who have vaginas that are for gender equality. And I just, as a woman myself, I feel as if I should be able to protest and have my voice heard without wearing a vagina hat. Yeah, not my favorite. But again, that's a personal thing. That's a personal preference. But it also does have sort of like this, where I feel like that kind of stands out as being kind of strange to have. Although minus the understanding of what that is about, I just don't think Sekhmet would have worn a pussy hat. But that's my own personal preference, right? And again, it's not the issue behind what it was signifying. It's the issue that I think as a woman I want to be taken seriously in my protests outside of wearing a pink pussy hat. At the same time, I think that it limits the scope of the argument, which I think the push for equality and gender equality should be one that we, is broader than just people who have vaginas. So anyways, that's how I feel about that. I also think just image-wise it stands out strangely. But she was a lion goddess, and the challenge to sisterhood is compliance to being a sister, and the challenge of Sekhmet is compliance, but at the same time the gift of that you gain is sisterhood. So yeah, not my favorite image-wise. Like, I think I would have liked that to have just been that modern. These feel so. I feel like this artwork feels ageless. It's really beautiful, and I feel like that sort of dates or makes it a little bit modern in a way that is disconcerting to the rest of the image. But that's my personal preference. I Am Service is absolutely gorgeous. The Vestal Virgins. The challenge is egotism and the gift is to serve. I Am Abundant is beautiful with the wheat there. Talia was one of the 3 Greek graces. She embodied abundance and plenty. So we have all 3 of the Greek graces here. We have Talia for abundance. We have your Euphrosyne, maybe? I'll have to ask somebody how to pronounce that correctly. For, like, euphoria, for happiness and joy. And we have algae for glory and wonder. So it's great that they're all 3 in there. If you're going to start the cycle, it's great to have them all, have the full cycle. I Am Vulnerable. This is really interesting. Obviously, this is also a modern thing, much like the mask or the hat, with this graph of the heartbeat, but it's really gorgeous. This is about echo. This Greek myth tells a sad tale of unrequited love. Echo falls in love with Narcissus, but he prefers only to gaze into the water. Da, 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 da. I know the story of Narcissus. I'm just saying, being true to ourselves. A sweet freedom, a secret freedom opens through a crevice you can barely see. So I guess because we're seeing the actual movement of the heart on the graph. It's really powerful. This is gorgeous. I am sacred space. So it looks like here there's multiple bodies sort of surrounding this. Nemetona is a very ancient Celtic goddess. Her name is derived from Nemeton, meaning she of the sacred grove, and she is the guardian of such places. The Druidic concept of Nemeton is related to her and describes a sacred spiritual space and sanctuary. I like having a card for sacred space. I am waking up. Sleeping Beauty. I do love that there is, women are waking up, which I agree. Challenge is dormancy and the gift is wholeness. But I think that is, I like that she pulled in some folk fairy tales in there. I am the moon. Obviously has some sort of rabbit energy. The witch hair. The hair and the moon are linked to the lunar and fertility cycles. In ancient Egypt, hairs were believed to be male when the moon was waxing and female when it was waning. In Chinese myth, female hairs were thought to conceive through the touch of the full moon's light. The rise of Christianity brought about a belief that hairs belonged to witches, and so the people became fearful towards them. Hairs are seen as magical guides and psychopomps that travel between the realms of the lower self and the higher self. The hair is an important, mysterious symbol, and as such is found in many practices and philosophies, such as the great art of alchemy. The challenge is fear, and the gift is guidance. Here we have I Am Heard. Occipete, I'm not sure, was a harpy whose name meant swift wing. Harpies were mythical. We always should know what a harpy is, right? In the Western world, we do not have full suppression of the feminine voice, but we are still often not heard. To silence a woman is still a tactic used in our world today with our personal and professional lives. The challenge is silence, and the gift is to use our voice. And I do think that this can go for anybody as well. Obviously, this is based on feminine goddesses, but I think there's many ways in which people are silenced, and it's not just based off of gender. And so these goddesses can have something to say to many people of different, across the spectrum. I Am Child. This is a beautiful image. Mary Magdalene. So this is about our inner child, although they use Mary Magdalene, which, there is some people who believe that she was Jesus' wife and bore him a daughter. But either way, it kind of goes more along the lines of the inner child than it is about that. But the challenge here is a reaction, and the gift is response. To know our inner child allows us to become aware that its personality does not fit with who we are now, leading us to a more authentic adult life. By loving the child inside, we help the adult outside to love and be loved. What if someone said to an embryo in the womb, outside of your world of black, nothing is a miraculously ordered universe? Probably people, they wouldn't want to come out, right? Let me zoom this back out. Whoops, not in. I always do that. So again, I don't think that I would use this ever to pull multiple cards from, unless it may be just a light and shadow card. I think that because you have the challenge and the gift, then I would say that would be a wonderful way to use this, is just to pull a card for the challenge and pull a card for the gift. I also don't mind the writing on the back. It's not my preferred form of a card. However, my other goddess card from Susan Sedembele and the Animal Knowledge cards by her both have the writing on the back, and I love those cards and I really appreciate them. And for me, it doesn't even matter in which way I shuffle, because of the way that I split it. It doesn't really matter that I can see the cards, because that's not going to affect what card I pick, because it's just random. So I have here the challenge. I think the challenge is first on this. Yep, the challenge. And then I would pull from the bottom for the gift. I don't know why I stuck it over there. So here we have the challenge of descending, but the gift, as that's how I'm going to look at this, just for a quick reading. So the challenge of this card is humiliation, although I would look a little bit more into the card. So this is Anana, the Sumerian god, protector of heaven and earth. Her task was to attend her sister husband's funeral. To arrive there, had to pass through the 7 gates. As she was descending, she was stripped of her possessions and arrived in the underworld naked and humiliated. I don't know that I would use this card so much about humiliation as it is vulnerability. You know, as she was descended further and further, she was stripped of all those things that kept her feeling less vulnerable. Finally, she was murdered and hung on a hook to rot. Oh. Her corpse was eventually rescued and taken back to the world above, where she was revived with the food and water of life. This myth describes our journey into darkness, right? Our shadow side is mostly unconscious and contained. So this is specifically about the shadow side, which I guess that to me would be the challenge, would less be about humiliation and more about the power here is about integrating our shadow side. So I would say, you know, don't just go right away with these, because everybody has different, reacts to goddesses and the energy differently. Because when I read through this, yes, there is that sense of vulnerability increasing the deeper down we go. But the real story here is that descent into darkness and the return, right? That return to wholeness here. So this is that idea. So the challenge is a shadow and all of the things that entails and all the work that entails. But what is the gift then is the fire, because when we do come back up from working on shadow, when we come back up through those levels of difficult experiences, painful experiences, humiliating or vulnerability, all of the things that happen when we are in those places, the power that we have here of Vesta in her temple, with the fire that guarded the homes, their cities, their people, and fire, this fire that protected all, and this energy that was there that comes out of the descent. So I think that's really beautiful, and I think that's how I will definitely work with this deck to see how it goes, is with that challenge card and a gift card, and see what happens. So I will definitely be working with this and seeing how this works. I will also need to write an email to the creator and beg her for a similar deck with goddess or with God energy, so that we can have both. Because I love goddess decks. I really do. The Divine Feminine is something I have really strong emotional remembrances of with Mary as a comfortable, happy, young child Catholic. I have actually very fond memories of sitting next to the statue of Mary in a little town that I was raised in, and talking to her as if she was my grandmother. And so I have strong feelings of that. But most of my growing up years and my young adult were with very strict patriarchal God energy. And so I do really enjoy tapping into the feminine divine energy with God goddess decks, but I also love to see that broad spectrum of masculine divinity, which we don't have enough of in this in the industry. So I would love to see one that matched this to be able to blend together. I tried that with Susan Senabole is no longer alive, but she was not alive when they created the deck, the goddess deck out of her artwork, and she has plenty of ones with male shamans and things of that nature. I'm like, can you please make a god one to go with it? But we'll see. We'll see if it happens. But regardless, I'm off on a tangent, sorry. Regardless, I do think this is a stunning deck. It has a very visceral feel to it, like I have a visceral response to many of the images, are very powerful feeling. And so the art style is one that I find to be really powerful. I do believe that you see a variety of facial types, age even a little bit with the age, although it's harder to see that with line drawings. I think that race becomes fairly less important the way that these are painted because of the style in which they are painted. Obviously the goddesses themselves, we know these things. But I do find this to be, there's something about this that actually is really, has an empowering feel to it. So I'll be interested to see how I get on with this in terms of working with it, and I will try to come back and let you know. But this has been a look at the beautiful Red Seeds Oracle cards by Linda Hill.